welcome friends. In honor of Wicked Part 2, or Wicked for Good, releasing this weekend, I've decided to venture out of my comfort zone a bit and count down my personal top 10 movie musicals of all time. Translation, prepare for some ignorance. Now, why am I doing this? Especially when my forte is trash horror and pulpy action flicks. Well, because I'm from Boston. And in Boston, we have an opinion about everything. Even things about which we know very little. Plus, when I was quite young, my parents dragged me to a stage play known as Wicked. And it blew my goddamn mind. Defying Gravity is just one of those songs that stays with you, dude. And from that day, I became more open to the genre of singing and dancing on stage. Just kidding. The buck stopped there for the most part. But I do absolutely have enough movie musicals that have rubbed me the right way over the years to comprise a top 10 list. So here we are. Now to kick things off, I'm going to toss out a few honorable mentions. The first of which is, in fact, Wicked Part 1. Is it overlong? Yes. Is it an offensive amount of artificial looking nonsense? Yes. Is it very much not a movie made for someone of my, general characteristics? Also yes. But I don't know, man. I just enjoy the hell out of it. Probably like 90% due to nostalgia. But they nail the casting of both leads. And just about my entire opinion of the film hinged on the execution of Defying Gravity. And it is absolutely perfect. I'm not nearly as excited for part 2, mainly because the songs kind of drop off a cliff in the second half, but it'll be good to see Dorothy and the gang again, so that's neat. Two other honorable mentions I need to toss out are movies that came out just exactly during the right time of my youth, and even though I wouldn't count them as my favorites, I definitely watched them way too many times to not give them a shout out here. The first one, I'm a little embarrassed to say I've seen a double-digit amount of times, is High School Musical. And the second I'm less embarrassed about because it's a very solid comedy film, and that's Pitch Perfect. However, from the bottom of my heart, fuck the Cups song. Seriously, I wish I could remove that entire trend from ever happening. But now that those are out of the way, we can get to the actual top 10. However, before we get there, I have one very important confession I need to make. I am Matt, the year is 2025, and I hate West Side Story. I think the songs are vastly overrated. I think the story is too aggravating of a Romeo and Juliet rip for me to care. And the singing, snapping, prancing gang members, who I'm supposed to believe can commit murder and intimidate people, just make my eyes roll out of my head and into oncoming traffic. It is a film made for theater kids, by theater kids. And I am just not one of those. That said, Natalie Wood is the best. And if you have any problems with that take, I will kindly direct you to the Inferion Complaint Department. Okay, and now on to the actual list. Number 10, we have 2018's A Star is Born with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. Now, I do genuinely love this movie, and I wish that Cooper's performance had garnered more award season love, but I understand the lack of rewatchability and really never work it into my regular rotation. However, it just so happens to be the first movie that I ever saw on the first date with my now wife. And it was so special to us that we actually chose the song Shallow as our first dance song at our wedding. So you will never catch me hating on this film. Next, at number 9, we have Bing Crosby's White Christmas, a film I somehow only saw for the first time a couple of years ago. I know the main song like the back of my hand, but I guess my parents just never really wanted to work it into our regular holiday season rotation, which is a bummer because it is just pure joy. The colors, the liveliness, the Christmas cheer, everything is simply magical in that movie. Oh, and shout out Vera Ellen and her preposterously impeccable legs. Next up at number 8, we have a relatively new film, and I honestly don't think recency bias has much to do with it. The film in question is K-Pop Demon Hunters. Do I hear any boos? Yes, it is true that my daughter loves this movie so much that she made our entire family dress up in the apparently popular nationwide ensemble for Halloween. But I'd be lying if I said I have not personally headbanged to several of the songs on this soundtrack in my car alone on multiple occasions. I mean, have you even heard Your Idol? Your taste is legitimately trash if that song doesn't make you want to fucking Oklahoma drill yourself through a brick wall. Next! At number 7, we have a movie that's really difficult to reasonably knock out of any list. And this movie is the great Wizard of Oz. Everything about it is stupidly iconic. In fact, I watched it for the first time in years, not too long ago when my daughter finally came of age. And even though she eventually lost interest, it was me that continued watching, glued to the screen by the sheer brilliance of Technicolor. The characters, the whimsy, the cultural impact. I'd just be a complete contrarian if I say it didn't deserve a spot here. Respect to the classics. Now, for both the 5th and 6th spots, I've reached a point where I can no longer fend off the allure of Disney. In my mind, there are two distinct eras of Disney musicals. First, there were the films that defined my generation. These are The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Mulan, films like that. And it was difficult to narrow down which of those I'd crown the best. Because although all of them are straight up great movies, most of them only have like 1 or 2 actually amazing songs. And of those films, I think I'd probably have to give the nod to The Lion King, mainly because it's like an 11 out of 10 film regardless of the music. Now, that said, if soundtracks were to qualify for this list, Phil Collins' Tarzan setlist would maybe enter the top 3, and I'm not even close to joking. But as far as actual sing-along musicals go, Elton John just knocks this thing out of the park. So Lion King takes the number 5 spot. However, Disney's modern renaissance of musicals has, unfortunately from the perspective of a dad, been nothing short of astonishing. And honestly, I am ashamed to admit that I know the words to way too many modern Disney songs. Movies like Encanto, Tangled, Moana, they've all knocked it out of the park. And as much as I should probably choose a Lin-Manuel Miranda spot on this list, it's Frozen that takes the cake. Even before I had a daughter, Let It Go was one of those songs that I would belt out alone in my house. When no one was around, of course. God, this is embarrassing. But especially after I had a daughter, I can now say that my end-of-year Spotify Wrapped has featured Idina Menzel and/or Kristen Bell on more than one occasion. And that's just, I don't know, man. It is what it is. Frozen 2 sucks, though. Not a good movie. But now I move on to the 4th spot on this list, and this might be the movie musical that I watched the most as a kid. The film being Annie. And surprisingly, not the one that most people think of, because I actually preferred the 1999 made-for-TV version with Kathy Bates instead. I like the Annie actress more, I like the musical sequences more, and it's the one that I had on VHS growing up, so Hard Knock Life, maybe, Tomorrow, all absolute bangers. And it's one of the few films I actually get excited about when my daughter asks to watch it. Hell yeah. And now for the top 3, which I think are pretty solidly untouchable for me. The first one, coming in at number 3, is 1952's Singin' in the Rain. Gene Kelly is obviously a musical icon, but even without the music, this is just an unbelievably good movie. I wish movies like this still came out nowadays, because everything about it is just timeless. And it's one of those movies that I can comfortably keep my straight guy hat on for, and that's always nice. Some of the most creative musical sequences ever, and just one of those films that should never be remade. Singin' in the Rain, great movie. At number 2, we have another perfect film that should never be remade, and that is Grease. The music from Grease has lived in my mind for a very long time. And although movies like Rocky Horror Picture Show or Little Shop of Horrors would, in theory, be way more up my particular alley, it is impossible to deny the charm of John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John rocking out to the theme of Rebellious Young Love. The go-to duet soundtrack for most people during karaoke nights, and that's just fine with me. Grease is the goddamn best. No question. But at number 1, we have, by a country mile, my favorite musical, and in my opinion, easily the best one ever made. Julie Andrews' The Sound of Music. Everything about it is perfection. The soundtrack, the cast, the plot set against World War II. It's just a staple of what everything a musical should be. You know, it doesn't hurt that my mom used to live in Salzburg, Austria, and that I've been there several times. One of the most beautiful places in Europe. And it especially doesn't hurt that Edelweiss was my parents' go-to lullaby when I was a very young child. In fact, it's the song that I used to sing to both my children when rocking them to sleep as babies, to the point where they now know all the words without even knowing where they came from. It's also probably a good time to note that the second place lullaby for my kids was me softly singing 1985 by Bowling for Soup. But since that's not from a musical, I guess I can't really claim it for anything on this list. Oh well. So anyway, that is my official top 10 movie musicals of all time. I doubt the new Wicked movie will sneak its way in there, but in the event that it does, I guess I'll have to reevaluate this list and see where it lands. Sorry if I offended any musical hardos out there, and I promise we will now return to our regularly scheduled programming of horror movies you should never watch with your parents. Oh, speaking of, anyone out there a big fan of Humanoids from the Deep? Because I bet it'd be even better with some singing and dancing. Anyway, let me know what great musicals I should check out in the comments, and go see Wicked for Good in theaters this weekend. As always, I'm Matt, and this has been the Inferion Channel.